Hi there, Sean. Hope you're having a good weekend. This is your video lesson for today. This is about the 10th iteration of this video. Because you asked a really great question. When I sat down, I'm like, oh, I'll just talk about how I practice and things like that. And it turns out that it's not such a clear answer. Like, what does the ideal practice session look like? But I did come up with a couple of things I think that are kind of maybe universal. So there's never like one, like this is what your practice should look like every single time. And the biggest thing I think is always have a purpose. Your practice should always be addressing something in your playing that either we've talked about or you want to get better at. For example, say when you were working on Wiki Game, when you sit down to practice, it doesn't make much sense just to loop it, right? It doesn't make sense just to try to play that riff over and over again. What you did by like, okay, what should the picking pattern be? Like that would be the purpose of that practice. Should your practice like have like, should you be working on scales? Well, do you want to get better at scales? It should be what you want to get better at. And the thing is that there's so many different things that we have to work on. It's kind of hard just to nail down one. I think, say, like going back to the Wiki Game, say a good practice session for that tune would have been, okay, I'm gonna work on my bar chords for a little bit. Make sure they're all looking good. I should do my bar chord exercises to make sure like my bars are strong enough. And then the trick is like, oh, my picking. So maybe I should come up with a picking exercise so that way I'm addressing what's difficult about that song. So, and that's what we did basically is we came down, okay, what's difficult about this? It's moving these fingers around so your bar should be really strong, and then your picking over here, you should be working on that. There's notes that you take in the lessons. Like literally that's like, start there is with your practice session. There is nothing wrong with just playing the guitar, right? You should actually build that time into your day. There's two different things we can do. We can either practice or we can just play. If we're playing, we're just having fun and we're not like necessarily working on any particular thing. We're just kind of just having a good time. Practice is where you're actively trying to improve upon X or Y. So say a practice session for I believe you're working on Pipeline would be like let's do some scale patterns. And then get your fingers move around. And then the practice of that day might be, the point of the practice of that day would be like, say for example, I want to memorize the first section. So I'm not always like staring at the tab, right? And then you would work on making sure you could do that. And if you do that, you've had a successful practice session, right? Now, if you are sitting down to practice and you're kind of just like playing like stuff over and over again, but not really focusing on any particular thing, then that was a good playing, you had a good time playing, basically. And you can also like think of things like, okay, maybe I want to get better this month. I want to spend this month getting better at knowing the fretboard. So we work on Magic Triangle, and then you might go, okay, well I want to get better at my pentatonic scales. Okay, run through your pentatonic scales, or your chords or whatever, and then make like a theme for the month, right? This month I'm going to get better at blues soloing. So if I'm going on some sequences, I'm going on some licks out of the Rock Secrets book, right? As long as you give yourself that like you go, okay, what am I doing this week? What is the goal of this week, or what's the goal of this month? And are you actively doing things to achieve that goal? Or are you taking side trips, taking too many side trips and never like really focusing on any one particular thing? So I think that would be like kind of the practice session. It doesn't have to be the same thing every single day because that gets stale. So if I said to you, hey, every day you need to practice your scales, you need to do Magic Triangle, fretboard theory, and then work on your tune. Well, if you don't vary that up, you're always, then it almost feels like you're getting stuck into that routine, if that makes sense. So you should sit down and go, okay, what do I want to get better at Pipeline with? On Pipeline, what should I be working on this week with it? Memorize the tune, for example. Work on your finger dexterity. Work a scale pattern if you're having trouble with those fingers moving around on you. So that's what the practice session should kind of be about, is not getting stuck in a rut of doing the same practice routine over and over again, because I did that at one point and it was boring. It was like soul crushing because every day was the same as the previous. And then the second point for review, or that you mentioned, is that you want to review some of your basics. Let's do it, man. And then let's throw something new in there with said basics. So what you can do is, let's go through and review A minor pentatonic, right? So we should be able to go through, oh, hurry up, turn on. So you should be able to go through your 5 boxes, right? Without too much trouble, you can run through all 5. And then I want you to tell me the names of the A minor pentatonic, right? So go back and like, what are the notes? What notes make up this scale? So you can go, note X, note Y, Z, this one, and then this one here, you have to use the magic triangle to figure that one out. So, all right, so go back through and review roots 5 and 6 notes, and then do your A minor pentatonic. And I want you to actively tell me like the names of the notes as you're playing them up the neck, right? One other thing I want you to do is take that information that you got by figuring out root 5, root 6, and the notes of A minor pentatonic, and I want you to play A minor pentatonic on one string. We'll start with string 2 because sometimes that's the weakest one in terms of like knowing the fretboard. So what you'll do, and I'm going to play an E minor pentatonic scale, so there's no cheating on your end, right? So if I play E minor pentatonic on one string, I'll take those notes I figured out on root 5 and root 6, and then find those notes on the second string. So first off, what I would do is I go, okay, what is the second string? So B, right? Then C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and so on and so forth. Identify those notes and then take those notes of A minor pentatonic and see if you can find them up the scale, or I'm sorry, up the string. So I'm gonna go ahead and run that in E minor pentatonic. So like I said, there's no cheating. So keep on going. Right? And what I would do is maybe give myself a little backing track, or you find a loop or something like that if you want. And then what I would practice doing is like getting in and out of different boxes. So I would use the one string approach to get me to another spot on the neck. So I'm gonna do this. So there what I did was in E minor pentatonic, I went up the string, stopped at box 5, and then got into box 5 for a little bit. So you do this. Stop at box 5 for a second. And used it to get into box 1, right? So do that this week with your basics, going back to the basics, but then take a new spin on them to get better at moving around the fretboard and not being stuck in one box all the time. All right, cool, man. That's what I want to talk about today. We can talk more about practice sessions, and maybe what we'll do for the next few weeks is we'll come up with like specific week-specific practice things that you should be working on. That way you can start checking boxes and things like that. So, all right, man. Let me know if you have any questions. I will see you the same time next week.